And guess where we are? We're in CPU air cooler heaven. I'm like at home here. We're at Thermalright. And guess what? Right now, every single manufacturer that we've talked to at Computex 2024 has also been talking about Thermalright. Why? Because they are one of the large reasons that a lot of other manufacturers have stepped back from releasing your standard CPU air cooling heatsink, because of the price competitiveness and the ability of Thermalright to just launch, look at this, all of these new models in one shot, and supposedly this is like the tip of the iceberg. Yes, it is CPU cooler spam, but it is keeping the market prices down. Now how is Thermalright actually able to accomplish this? Well, that's because they are their own OEM. They make their own heat pipes, they make their own heat sinks, they do everything themselves, and not only that, tariffs have come into the US right now. Thermalright has actually said in order to gain market share, they're going to be making less profit while keeping all of these new CPU coolers under, guess what, 45 bucks. And look, I also have to thank all of our sponsors for allowing us to come to the show and cover products like all these new Thermalright heatsinks. So, Antec, Thermaltake, Fantex, and the government of Taiwan, thank you all for making this trip possible. Let's talk about the first heatsink here. Guess what? Peerless Assassin is coming in 140mm form factor in both dual and single fan configurations. So this is the Peerless Assassin that we've all come to know and love. So 6 heat pipes. In this case though, it's a combination of a 120 and a 140mm fan here, or a single 140mm fan, which is the version that I have right here in front of me. What you're also wondering right now is, how does this compare to something like the Frost Spirit, which literally looks the exact same? Well, the Frost Spirit is aimed at a little bit of a different market, so a little bit quieter running, and not only that, it has 4 8mm heat pipes, whereas the Assassin series, it has 6 6mm heat pipes. The other positive thing about this new Peerless Assassin is it will only be 159mm in height, so still relatively compact, despite the fact that it has a 140mm fan in there. And the price? It's gonna knock your socks off. Thermalright is aiming for this to be $35 US for either the white version or the black version. There's no SE version at this point in time, but expect that if it ever comes out to be even lower. And I'm telling you, these things look absolutely stunning. $35. Do you hear $35? It's like everything is $35 or $45. I swear to God. How? Now, another cooler that a lot of people have been asking for is a competitor to SAIS Fuma 3. Where are all of the coolers out there that offer amazing performance but also have 100% memory compatibility, and you have no trouble with them sort of like fitting over a large PWM heatsink? Thermalright, guess what? They thought the exact same thing. So this is the Royal Knight 120, available in both, again, white and black. Their intent for this is, yes, very much a Fuma 3 competitor. So what you have is you have the heat pipes that are completely swept forward, a dual tower approach, but then a thin 50mm fan at the front, and your standard fan in the middle in a push-pull configuration. And again, if you look at where this lies, you're going to get 100% memory compatibility regardless of what motherboard you are using. And guess what? They love the $35 price point. This thing, regardless of whether it's going to be in white or in black, it's going to be 35 bucks. I mean, come on. Next one is a new lineup for them. So this is the I'm sorry, some of the names are odd here. The Royal Preytor 130 Ultra. Now, what this is, it's incorporating all of their latest fan technology along with soldered heat pipes. So what the difference here between this heatsink and a lot of the other ones, especially in the lower price categories, is the fact that the lower cost heatsinks usually use pressure mounted heat pipes, whereas these ones here are soldered, so a little bit better heat transfer between the base and the heat pipes. Now, the other thing that they're using here is their upgraded fans, their best fans. So the K12 and a brand new 135mm fan in the center. That 135mm on the Ultra, at least, is 28mm thick. That allows for a lot of additional static pressure without it having to ramp up its fan speeds. I don't have to say this because you can see it here, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Black, white, standard, not $35 because of the additional complication and the cost that goes into 2 of their best fans being mounted to this cooler along with those soldered heat pipes. We're looking at, give you 2 seconds to guess. 1, 2, $55? No, 45 bucks. Less than 1/2 the cost of the D15 G2. So I'm gonna be really interested to see where this lands. finally, we're gonna move over. Actually, it's not finally because I feel like it's non-stop here, okay? So the next one is the Royal Preytor 130. So what you're looking at is a slightly detuned version of the Ultra version. So we're looking at a couple dollars less in price, but because of that, you still get the soldered heat pipes, but the fans, they're a little bit lower performance. You don't get the high performance K12 fans. You don't get those little RGB strips on that K12, but we're only looking at like 1 to 2, maybe 3 degrees different here between one to the other. I also want to step back to that Ultra model because a lot of you might be wondering, where will this ultimately lie versus something like the Phantom Spirit Evo? That Phantom Spirit Evo also has those 2 K12 fans. It is one of the better coolers that we've tested, but we did find a few small issues with it. Now, what they're aiming for here, it's really something, and I'm gonna have to see if it actually holds true because they're using the same mounting system as the Phantom Spirit Evo. They're using the same everything. They're looking at 4 to 6 degrees temperature drop versus the Evo and the Phantom Spirit 120 SE. If that's the case, and they haven't changed really all that much in the base heatsink, that's just mind-blowing, right? Now this is the Assassin Spirit 120 Vision. It's got a small 1/2-inch LCD that will display temperature and whatnot. So a lot of like what we see from Deep Cool. The only difference here is, along with an RGB fan which has an infinity ring, they're really focusing this towards the ease of mounting. So for those first-time builders, you don't have to even remove your fan in order to mount this thing. So you can see that there's easy access to the 2 mounting screws here and here, along with 100% memory clearance because of those heat pipes that sweep forward and allow for that clearance. The price for this with the integrated LCD display is, well, we're looking at $35 to $45 here, so it can't be all that much more. Well, actually it's less. $25 for either the white or the black. So I have to cut in here just very, very quickly because the CEO, he just tapped me on the shoulder and he said, look, we also need to talk about Arrow Lake S, and we also have to talk about the Ryzen 9000 series because this is something that Thermalright is actively developing for. And a lot of these coolers here, plus some of them that are coming up, are optimized for Arrow Lake S's chiplet design and the Ryzen 9000 series, which, believe it or not, shifts those CCDs just a couple little millimeters north. So they are still using the same mounting system on all their coolers, but some of the base plates here are being optimized for those new realizations for Arrow Lake S and the Ryzen 9000 series. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Now, I mean, I know I've thrown a lot of air cooling into your face here. It's because I'm passionate about it, right? There's so much less to be worried about here other than if you add sort of like an LCD screen. You don't have to worry about all those complications of AIOs. And in this case, if they can actually achieve the temperatures that they're claiming, and we have other air coolers like the D15 G2 that are coming out, like a few others that we've seen that are still under wraps, even here at Computex, well, it's going to be hard to beat Thermalright, and we can see why a lot of companies are sort of like pulling back from this market until they can value engineer their designs. So anyways, look, I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks here at Computex 2024, just in awe of air coolers once again. I hope that you are also enjoying this content, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Have a great day, guys.